All right, well, we're here, ladies and gentlemen. You got the Hot 97 Morning Show, and this guy, I mean, might be one of the most famous politicians I've ever sat and had a conversation with. I mean, Barack on the phone was a big deal.
You didn't have Barack on the phone.
No.
Angie did.
Angie did. And you guys did, didn't
you?
You
Let him call in?
Yeah, we let him call in.
You wouldn't let me call in.
No, you got to get your ass in here. I need to see you.
Oh, man.
I need to see you face to face.
All right. Okay. That's a deal.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eliot Spitzer's here running for the Comptroller of New York City. How
you pronounced it right. Good.
Yeah, we had
a
whole conversation about the whole Comptroller.
Yeah, nobody gets it.
How would you describe, for people who went out to vote today, what exactly they're voting for in Comptroller and what you do?
It's very simple. We count the money. We make the money count. We are the ones who make sure that the dollars that are spent go to your schoolrooms, go into the housing, the subway. You got to make sure that all those tax bucks get used the right way.
And how do you want to use tax bucks? What do you say? What do you see? What's the thing?
Look, people look what I did as Attorney General. I stood up for them, stood up to Wall Street, stood up for immigrants, stood up for low-wage workers, stood up for education. The only one, independent, not part of a political establishment that has busted, broken, and has ruined the lives of too many people. I'm the only independent voice in this political scene right now. They threw me out. They didn't like me because when I stood up, they said, whoa, you're rocking the boat. My opponent gave the mayor a third term. It's very simple. You give a guy like that another chance to keep the status quo, or you give somebody like me who shook up the system and said things are not going the right way.
So now it sounds like in there you said they threw me out, they didn't like me, but they went after you for some things that, you know,
I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when I said I was running.
Yeah.
They said, oh, man, we don't want him back.
Got it.
And the reason it's not because I was wrong. I was right on immigration.
Right.
They admit that now.
Right.
I was the only one who said give immigrants a fair shot, give them a driver's license. I was the only one who said Wall Street's taking us down a dangerous path. They didn't like that. I was the only one who stood up and said we've got to give more money to the schools here in the city. You know, I did the things that were tough, but we're right.
But that's your MO. That's what I was saying yesterday when we had Scott Stringer.
You stand for something.
Well, yeah. What Eliot Spitzer is known for is being he's a dog. He'll go after you.
He'll make an MF.
I want to know what kind of dog we're talking about. Beer before.
I mean, you know, a pit.
I'll take a
I think I might have even told Scott Stringer. Spitzer,
not a Chihuahua. That's
no. I told Stringer that Spitzer's the kind of guy that'll make an MF or bleed.
Look,
for the sake of the people.
Here's the thing. The way I say it is politics for me is a cause, not a profession. Right? If it's a profession, all you do is you take one job after the next, and he ran for mayor. That didn't go so well. He's running for this. You run, in my worldview, for something where you think you can make a difference. That's why I ran for Attorney General. When I ran for Attorney General in 1999, people said, that's not a job anybody cares about.
Right.
I said, wait a minute, you don't get what you can do with that job. Same thing with Comptroller. We control a pension fund of $140 billion. Let's be crass. Money is power. Right? You get that much money. You control those equities in the capital markets. We don't need to listen to the CEOs telling us what they want to do. We own them. They don't own us. Right?
Well, you would know. I mean, you would, speaking firsthand, know that money is power. You have a lot of it.
Well, you know, a little less now than I did before the campaign.
True.
But look, I'm lucky. My dad came in here, just so it's here, everybody's saying, oh, Scott says he was a rich kid. My dad started with nothing.
That's right.
Didn't have two nickels to rub together, right? We've made it the old-fashioned way in this city, working hard, investing, building.
And it's mostly real estate based.
Mostly because we build.
Right.
You know, I'm proud of it. We build, and it's bricks and mortar. It's real things. You can kick it, look at it. We build jobs. We build apartments.
So for the blue-collar guy, the guy that hasn't seen, or his family hasn't seen the kind of money that your family has, how can I relate to you? Talk to me about why I would relate to you and want to vote for you.
My life is the same as everybody else's life. Same, you know, no different. I get my coffee at Dunkin' Donuts because I don't like to pay what Starbucks charges.
Your wife's been mad at you a number of times. Every man can relate to that. We've all screwed up out here.
I wasn't going there, you know. But
hey, people. But listen, it makes you human.
It may make me human. It's right. I'll leave it at that.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this related to that issue. Do you think that you took? I came up with this idea yesterday. I believe it's true. I think a lot of people believe you are the most qualified candidate, and before everything went down with you, people thought. You were on your way to doing a lot, and now you've made your way back. Do you think Anthony Weiner's pitfalls have in any way negatively affected you because people tie these stories together in some way?
I'll give you the lawyer's answer and then the deeper answer. In any way, yeah, in some way, of course, because there was a lot of screaming and shouting at the beginning of this campaign season about the whole set of issues. So in any way, yes, but people have differentiated us. They've looked at us differently, and I don't say this to speak ill of Anthony or anybody else. Let them make that judgment. People look at me on the totality of my career, and they know that I made mistakes, but I made a difference. And that's the fundamental divide here. They They look at what I did as Attorney General. They remember, yeah, that guy fought for us. They know what I did that was tangible and real. Stood up to Wall Street when nobody else would. People thought I was nuts, but we were right.
Why did the newspapers go at you so hard? They've all supported Stringer, everyone, and the Daily News ran a headline that was something out of super aggressive.
I'll tell you why. They're the establishment. The Daily News endorsed Mitt Romney. Let's not forget this. The Daily News is a media establishment that went for Mitt Romney, attacks Barack Obama on its editorial page every day. These are right-wing voices. Murdoch owns the Post. We know where so we read the tabloids, and look, I read them. They're fun, right? How can you not read those headlines, smile, look at those pictures, and say, hey, that's a good time reading that.
Right.
But don't believe that trash. These are right-wing newspapers owned by right-wing plutocrats who are doing bad things to our politics.
What about the Times, though? The Times went for Stringer as well.
Look, that's a more complicated dynamic. The Times has been with me on every issue I ever fought, whether it was Wall Street, immigrants' rights. I was the only candidate for same-sex marriage in 1998 when I ran for Attorney General, in 2006 when I ran for governor. And I won that by a historic margin. I was still the only statewide candidate in New York who was for same-sex marriage.
Spitzy. I'm going to call you Spitzy.
Spitzy, all right.
All right. Spitzy. I'm telling you right now, it's not that people think you're weak or not qualified for the job. I don't believe anybody could fix their lips to actually say that.
Right.
It has everything to do with the past. It has everything to do with personal things that you've been through.
You are right.
And look, today when people go out and vote, I think people are going to have to look at it and go, okay, wait a minute. This job is basically the CFO of our city.
Right. And you're talking like a Wall Street guy here.
Well, I mean,
in some ways, he is.
I'm kind of,
should have heard what he said with De Blasio on the phone last week. Sometimes he sounds like.
Listen,
beneath all the trash talk, we got somebody who does like to do an audit.
I'm a registered independent. Right, so if I want a guy that's going to run business right, I want a guy that's been successful in business. And you, on a personal level, have been successful in business, and you've also been a successful politician.
Right.
It's just hard for people to get past the mistakes, and that's what you're.
So how do you respond to what he says in the commercial, where he says that you skated, that you were attacking people for prostitution, and then you went down?
His ads are I'm not going to. They're kind of vile. They misstate things grotesquely. Put that aside for the moment.
Okay.
Let me answer the deeper question: how do people get beyond the personal stuff?
Right.
We are a world and a society. As human beings, we believe in forgiveness. We believe in second chances. And what I've said to the public is they will make this judgment. They will look at the totality of my career and answer that either they're willing to say yes or not. Either way, I respect that judgment.
Okay.
When I was a prosecutor for a lot of years, right? When I stood up in front of a jury, made my argument, I looked at those jurors. If they came back guilty, I respected it. If they came back not guilty, I respected it. Same in democracy. Whatever the verdict of the people is, that's fine with me. But I've said to them, here's your choice. You know I fought for you. You know what I stand for. You know I will be your advocate every day. That's who I am. If you can overlook and forgive, I'm with you. I
want to jump somewhere else because we've got like De Blasio was on and we were having the affordable housing conversation. That's big. You have the stop and frisk conversation, which I'm not quite sure how the Comptroller plays into the stop and frisk thing.
Can you for 1 second? 1999, I was the first guy who did an investigation of stop and frisk. When I was Attorney General, it's still the best investigation ever done. This is before it was a hot issue. Back then, and the numbers were smaller because they were just beginning.
Right.
We said we got a crisis here. It's the best single investigation of that.
And where are you on the entire issue?
It's got to be changed. It's crazy.
In what way?
I'm going to carve a subtle path here, as you know me, not to be political. Putting an IG and just say, let's put an IG on top of the police department doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Because then an IG shows up, you got to say, what do you want him to do?
And an IG is?
An inspector general. Somebody who can oversee. What you need to do is what the judge is trying to do, which is to say to cops, here is what is sufficient to define furtive behavior, the legal term for when you can actually stop somebody. You can't just do it because you don't like the pants somebody's wearing.
That's right.
You don't like the color of his skin. You don't like the street corner the person's on. There's got to be specific, articulable, factual-based information that says that guy's up to something that's criminal.
And when there's not,
you can't do it. You can't.
So I've been stopped because my pants are sagging, or I've
pull
been
your pants up, bro.
Which I have this issue, and now what happens for me? I'm the regular pedestrian guy. They take me in. I miss work. I lose my job.
Right. That's why it's wrong. And it's a constitutional violation, which is a legal way of saying that you're not creating a society we believe in when you have people being subject to that every day. It shouldn't happen. And so what you've got to do is manage the police department differently. That's why Ray Kelly, who in some ways has been a good police commissioner, let's be real.
Okay.
But he's got to understand that you've got to change the culture of street policing.
So it sounds like awareness, sensitivity,
and training. It's training, and it starts at the top.
And that's something as comptroller that you can.
Well, look, the way in as controller is you oversee all the settlements. It costs the city a lot of money because people sue.
Oh, okay.
So you have to sign off on the money that is spent. Now, I'll give you another way in that affected my opponent. He was for the third term. He was for the third term for Mike Bloomberg. Now, why was he for the third term? Because all the politicians got together and said, we want to keep our jobs.
I was going to say
we don't want to run it this time because we don't know if we're going to win or lose. Because for them, politics is a profession.
Do you believe that Scott Stringer is a career politician? He's one of these career Democrats who
20
just
years. He's been there for 20 years. And look, last day of a campaign, I'm going to say something that what's he done in 20 years? I mean, he's been there for 20 years. It's kind of
listen, I'm not going to get on this radio and act like I even knew what a comptroller was before I started researching on you.
But here's the thing. I was in there for 10 years. 8 as Attorney General, 2 as Governor. People know what I stood for.
That is true.
And he's Manhattan Borough President currently.
And he was in the
That's
State Assembly for 12 years. That's fine. But for 20 years he was there. And this is, let's be frank, this is a referendum on me in this campaign today, right? That's fine. Up or down about me. But the reason is because he is a career politician who for 20 years was just part of let's climb the ladder, get to the next step. That's not the way I believe in politics.
You're supposedly as of today down several points.
Look, I'm not going to get into the polls. We were up in every other poll. But,
okay. Oh, well, and listen, I lean.
Only one that counts.
I lean in your direction
Get out and
today.
vote. Come on.
But if this somehow didn't work out, if Comptroller doesn't work out, and this, what would be the next thing you do?
Are you going to be a DJ on a radio show?
Listen.
Well,
got any openings? I see there's a mic sitting over there.
Listen, I'm going to call you. I'm going to call your former programmers at CNN and say, okay, why is he not?
Let me tell you, that was a good show.
It was a good program.
Yeah.
I don't want you bringing him in. I'm going to lose my job if he comes in.
Why?
There's no room for both of us.
I can't have 2 Jews. I can't have 2 Jews on the program.
There's no racial profiling.
You're not going to have 2
completely.
Jews.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst. Listen, one last thing before you get up out of here, Mr. Spitzer. Today when people go to the polls and vote, a lot of our listeners, they're black, they're Latino, they're white, they're from middle class, lower class neighborhoods. Affordable housing in this town is one of the big topics.
You got it.
Talk to us about how that plays in your mind as you take this seat of controller. How do we balance? Look, if I own property in Manhattan, I don't want somebody putting something affordable up next to my building, bringing down my property value. But at the same time,
I know. I told you this.
But at the same time, I do realize that to help people get upward mobility in this world, we got to have a way for them to get out of government housing.
Look, when I was governor, I did more for affordable housing than any governor ever had. And you know who said that? Scott Stringer. Scott Stringer. When I was governor, we figured out a way to take hundreds of millions of bucks. It was complicated. Selling a piece of property off at the Javits Center that was being wasted, put it into an affordable bond fund that would permit a revolving fund to build affordable housing. We did it. As controller, we got $140 billion in the pension fund. You use some of that to build affordable middle-class housing and affordable housing in the city of New York, because that's the constraint for most folks.
There's nowhere to go.
Our population is growing, which is the good thing. But if there's no place to live and we price ourselves out, people will go to New Jersey.
So
I've
asked a couple of people that have come by, where does this go in the city? Like, where on the map would you place it?
Every time I drive around the city, there are vacant lots. There are lots that are sitting there. The city could either buy them, condemn them, condemn it only if it's behind its taxes, not just taking property. Build housing. We need to build affordable housing. I can tell you, as somebody in real estate, a cubic yard of concrete costs the same whether it's on Fifth Avenue or out in Bed-Stuy, right? The only difference is the cost of the land.
That's right.
But what we should do is buy that land, get it to developers at a low price, and say, build housing. The more housing in the city, the better. And it's a good investment. For the pension funds, nothing has performed better than housing in New York because we've got people coming in. I'd rather take that than the stock market or anybody's hedge fund any day of the week.
All right, Ebro, I'm going to flip the script on the realness today.
All right, you go.
Instead of me kicking the realness, I'm going to pass it off to our candidates. I'm going to go to Eliot Spitzer first. Tell the people why you should be Comptroller of New York. Kick the realness.
Hey, when I was Attorney General and Governor, I fought for you. I did not pull a single punch. You know what I stand for. If I made a mistake, I made some differences, stood up to Wall Street, stood up for immigration rights for those who needed help. That's what I've always done, what I always will do. You want somebody to be your advocate, not just to count the money, make the money count. That's what the Comptroller does. I will do that starting January 1. Vote. Today's Election Day.
I like it.
Concise.
Look, Eliot Spitzer, ladies and gentlemen, not only taking responsibility for his past, but also trying to have a new future in this town as Comptroller of New York City, right?
I hope so.
All right, man. Good luck today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.